Welcome to the Professor Nick Show. I'm Nick Norris, business instructor at Ventura College. Each week I'm joined by interesting guests who come on and talk about their career experiences and their specific areas of expertise. I am very fortunate today to be joined by two gentlemen, Ryan Gorman, CEO of Coldwell Banker, and Dr. Michael Gorman, who's president of Salem Community College in New Jersey. It's hard to miss Dr. Gorman over there with the Salem gear. Gentlemen, seriously, thank you for being available. Thank you for joining us. Can you say hello to my students?
It's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's going to be great. The Professor Nick. I mean, it's, Opa, I call my father Opa. I mean, Opa and I, we've had this on our bucket list for quite some time. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is really the golden ticket.
Thanks for exaggerating. I appreciate it. I think we're going to have a really interesting conversation here today. So we talked a couple days ago about setting a theme for today's interview so that we didn't hit record and then talk for 3 hours about everything and anything so that we can kind of rein it in and control, conversation. And I think what we came up with here, our topic for today is pathway toward your dream, community college, real estate, and economic development. I feel like between the minds of the two of you in the community college world, the real estate world, and me maybe facilitating the conversation, that we can really dive in on how these three areas connect. So let's just ask the first question here. What role does community college play in helping students achieve their goals? And I'll let either one of you jump in on this.
Well, I think he may know a little more than I do about this topic. Just a little. So don't get full of yourself there, Opa. Why don't you jump in?
The beauty of the community college, and I am a community college graduate myself, after having a failure at a four-year school, regrouped at a community college, and then went on to another four-year school, and eventually it all worked out fairly well for me. I was very fortunate in my career. But the idea of a community college is the nimbleness and the personalized attention that people will get in that environment to help them go toward a dream they may not even realize they have yet. Just having somebody sit down and talk with you is often the catalyst to make sure that something good is about to happen. No one goes to college without the aspiration of a job. You might not know what job it is when you first start, but the whole idea is you are going to college in order to advance your personal and professional well-being. Community colleges are wonderful because we broadcast ourselves as your Salem Community College because we want to believe that we belong to our community. We say community is our middle name, and we literally live up to that mantra. And we do a lot of things within the community. But the four foundations and pillars that we live by, we are affordable, we are quality, we are empowering, and we are personalized. And I think there's a universality to that in the community college world. Only Salem does it better than anybody else.
Right up there with Ventura, if I'm not mistaken. So I love that.
To say about that. Sorry.
He mentioned that he failed out of another school. He was actually kicked out of another school, and there's a whole great story about that we don't have time for. But someone should write to him and ask him to tell the story. He'd love to tell it. So I just want to emphasize the community is my middle name part of that Salem Community College branding that you had. That's so incredibly crucial because it really is all about the student in the community. And really, I mean, even, Professor Nick, hearing you speak about your students, I mean, it is very personalized in a way that I'm sure many people throughout lots of higher education realms would love to have an opportunity to do, but they just can't. Maybe it's too big of a scale. There's a lot of other things that they're involved with. There's research projects and kind of larger school environments, but some of that community college environment does really offer that opportunity for that personalized education and for someone who can feel free to wander across the courses in a really affordable way and find their zen and find their path and then kind of be off to the races. I think it's crucial.
I think you bring up a really interesting point there about kind of finding out what that job is that you want along the way, right? We drop 18-year-olds into college and expect them to know what they want to do with the rest of their lives when they've just started to vote and be able to rent a car. And a community college is a great place and an affordable place where you can take a history class, a business class, an English class, all these other different types of classes and figure out what it is you want to do and kind of learn on the fly. I was the same. I don't know about you guys. I did not know what I wanted to do with my life at 18, 19, 20 years old. I kind of discovered my path when I was in college, and community college offers a really unique opportunity to do that. So
it's an interesting dynamic in that I probably did know, well, I discovered what I wanted to do when I was in high school, but I didn't know what I wanted to do until after I finished community college. I then kind of reflected back on the inspiration I had to go into the field of education. And while I was in the community college, I started to get that feel for things, and I got encouragement from different professors that they would take that half hour out after class to talk to you. They would help you. They'd ask you the right questions. And, again, I didn't realize that had been a seed within me for a while until these people took that time. Now, I've got to say that when I went on to the four-year school, I didn't get that same kind of attention. So thank God I had that opportunity in the community college to get that, because I was just one of those people that needed it. Not everybody does. Some people, hey, it's like Ryan, I just wanted to stay out of his way. He was going to be successful. He knew what he was doing. But not many people understand that early on. Community college is a great place to explore. You can go and take a course that may mean nothing. I took the history of cities. I didn't have anything to do with that in my life, but it only cost me about $100 back then. Not bad.
Not bad.
And I would love that course. So, I wish I could take
took
it
a
out.
history of jazz class in college. I'll never forget it. One of my favorite classes, has absolutely nothing to do with what I do now, but I enjoyed it a lot. Well, thanks. Ryan, we're going to transition a little bit to your area of expertise, which is real estate. How are real estate, economic development, and community college all connected? And I know that's a loaded question, and we can go a lot of different ways with it.
Yeah, I think they are really, really deeply connected. So real estate, I'll just speak about Coldwell Banker for a second. So Coldwell Banker, we are about 100,000 people in 44 countries around the world. And yet we are global, but we are local. Every single one of our real estate professionals is literally helping an individual like you, Professor Nick, actually find a place to live or to move on from the home where they are, right? So it's hyper local and deeply embedded in the community. Real estate professionals, those we serve, so our real estate agents and our brokers around the world, but we'll just speak here about the US, are the linchpin of their communities. They are the nexus of information flow and motivation, and oftentimes economic and community development in their community. So they see the opportunities and they see the problems. They connect individuals to some of those opportunities to serve. A great example, literally just yesterday, I was speaking with Amber Chupin. She's one of our franchisees, a new franchisee affiliate within Coldwell Banker in Grand Island, Nebraska. Grand Island's a wonderful town. It's a relatively small town, and they have some challenges. They had a daycare center that unfortunately had to close down due to economic reasons. And we were talking about how she's working within her community to try to get a solution for folks in that community that can serve that need. We talked about my father, who tried to open a center in our high school where he was the principal, and worked with the community to try and make it so that, students could learn to be healthcare and daycare and childcare providers and serve the community, and also provide that opportunity to the community. So we talked about that, and she said, well, I'm actually right now working with the superintendent of schools here and some business leaders, the bank president. We formed a little group, and we're working to try and raise funds and find a resource to be able to try and reopen this. And it was just natural for her that, of course, she saw a challenge. She immediately pivoted right to the opportunity, tried to connect the dots of financial leaders and business leaders and education leaders to try and come together and serve that community for a need that existed. Now, for her personally and for her real estate business, hopefully she wouldn't mind me mentioning this, it also reintroduced her to a lot of people who she kind of knew, but it reintroduced her at a time where now they're reaching out to her and saying, hey, thanks so much for helping out with that. By the way, we're thinking about moving, we're thinking about building, we're thinking about, putting down roots somewhere else or looking at a vacation home. And it keeps her top of mind as a subject matter expert on the community as well as real estate. It's just one example of literally thousands. I mean, especially during COVID-19, the number of examples we had of hometown heroes, of our agents and brokers out there really finding a path to make sure the community gets served, make sure people are able to get the food they need and the clothing they need and the shelter they need and make the connections they need. That is who we are. It's not in the job description of any real estate agent anywhere in the country or the world, and yet it's what they do every single day. And they're entrepreneurs, every single one of them. So they're embedded in that community and trying to build their business by building their community, which inevitably is deeply tied to those, these economics. And in Salem County, it's no different. A lot of times when we talk about the economic opportunities and challenges of Salem County, the real estate community is deeply embedded in all of that.
It is about people, and people have to live somewhere. And, we have this belief system as a community entity that we call ourselves the educational epicenter of the county. We consider ourselves the cultural hub because we have a beautiful theater and everybody uses it for a variety of purposes. And we're the economic facilitator. We have what's called a wind port, which is a wind energy system that's going to be going in off the coast of Atlantic City, and they're going to be building those in our county. And they've come to us about some specialty needs that they are going to have. So we go and we tailor it to what they're going to do. But there are three key ingredients to any community. For us, it just happens to be a county, and community are synonymous. But there is the need for a local independent bank, someone who is going to be there basically in that service role. The second thing is to have a community hospital, because health and welfare are primary for everybody. And the third is to have a community college that is going to be able to be nimble enough to react to the needs of the county and shifting. COVID-19 has changed a lot for everyone. And in our particular case, we're not just looking at our coursework, but what can we do to help people get into a different job now? Because a lot of those service jobs, low-end service jobs, are vaporized. And we're offering courses in the Microsoft tools and so forth for somebody who may just need to get into a clerical line of work and regroup. And we're the nimble agency that can help facilitate something of that nature.
And on the real estate side, literally the meeting I had before this was specifically focused on reaching out largely through social media to the industries most negatively affected by COVID-19, specifically the airline industries, the hospitality industries, and a fair portion of the retail and dining industries, reaching out to service professionals in those areas who are clearly service-oriented, customer service-oriented, love what they do, but don't have an opportunity to do it any longer, and making sure they're aware of the path to real estate, how we can get them to real estate. Oftentimes it's through partnering with community colleges for licensing courses, for instance, that can get them licensed and then move them into a path of entrepreneurship where they can continue to serve like they love, just in a different way.
I love this. This is just, we're making connections all the way around here. Education, commerce, and healthcare. I think the way that I came to meet you guys is that my realtor who helped me buy this house and sell my old house, Ariel Palmieri, is a Coldwell Banker real estate agent. And I recorded an interview with her. I don't know how you guys got wind of it. We opened up the opportunity to have this conversation and take it a step further, which I'm thrilled about. But also, when I showed that interview in my class to the students, one of the students who's already thinking about heading into healthcare reached out to Ariel, had a conversation, is interested in getting her license. So you all might just get a new rock star 20-year-old realtor under your belt here in the next year as a result of this. And so I feel like the mutual benefits are just everywhere we look when communities and businesses work together.
I completely agree. And I'm sure, Professor Nick, a lot of what you lean into with your class is talking about new models, new opportunities, and oftentimes disruption is what people talk about, of industries being disrupted, right? So I'm sure that's a big topic for you as well. And I'll just say Ariel's a great example of where there's sort of resistance to disruption, because frankly, Ariel's co-opting a lot of the new tools and technologies and opportunities, that whether it's social media or some of the technology she used in helping you to be able to get where you needed to go. she's co-opting those things and using them coupled with deep service to be able to deliver. And we're doing the exact same thing. It's a lot of what community college do to try to help individuals to retool to be able to continue in the direction that they want to go. And so I think there's a lot of really great examples of these worlds intersecting, and of people who have a little bit of support, whether it's a community college behind them or a great brand that can help them to retool and reskill and grow themselves. A little bit of support can really unlock relatively unlimited human potential.
Yes to all that. And I love that you brought up disruption. I'm not going to go too far off on the deep end, but that is one of the things that I focus on in my intro to business and small business management classes. I usually start things out with a case study on Netflix. And how did you used to watch TV 20 years ago? How did you used to watch movies 20 years ago versus how you do it now? We also talk about Uber and Airbnb disrupting their industries. And you're absolutely right. I feel like real estate and education are ripe for disruption. And that includes embracing new technologies, new models, new ways of doing things. And I agree with you that I think Ariel is a prime example of that. She's doing all the right things, and she is taking this industry, in my opinion, in the right direction. So
I agree. I bet you are too, because I'm guessing as you're teaching about disruption, and you're saying education is right for disruption as well. I agree, and yet you and my father and others are probably taking some of those things that people point to as being disruptive, whether it's massively open classrooms, the MOOCs, or just YouTube, and people saying, I can learn anything I need to learn on YouTube. And you're probably, flipping links to your students of like, hey, that thing we were talking about yesterday, here's 2 great examples of it. Here's another course you can also take. Here's just a 15-minute lecture. Here's a TED Talk. So again, co-opting some of that people might think of as disruptive, coupling your expertise, your service, and your customized and personalized delivery to be able to unlock potential that, frankly, the internet has been open to your students forever. They could have discovered the links that you sent them forever, but they needed some of that guidance, some of that shaping, and some of that context that you can provide.
I'm not sure it's as disruptive as it is evolutionary.
Yep.
So this is maybe a catalyst to foster the faster movement toward whatever we're going to be. And I think that's still a design to be realized. But just looking at our English 101 that we'll offer next year, probably 1/3 of the classes will be online classes, which are asynchronous. Then there are going to be 1/3 that are probably going to be remote classes done virtually in a synchronous manner. And then there are probably going to be 1/3 that are going to be on campus. We actually are starting to talk about how we can redesign space usage here on campus and not have to expand the bricks and mortar, because we're able to go into the virtual world and reach some people that maybe couldn't have been reached before. Not that this is for everybody. There are some people that are falling into the abyss as a result of going remote, but there are also some people that are getting on this train. So once we can get into the 3 dynamics of this instructional approach, I think that becomes a model for a lot of other business enterprises, because before anything else, education is a business, and higher ed in particular.
That it is. And I like using those words synonymously, disruption and evolution, almost as if it's inevitable, right?
Yep.
That these industries will be disrupted. Love it. Thanks, guys. Okay. Question for you. How can young entrepreneurial students leverage the resources provided by community colleges to pursue their dreams? I feel like we've already touched on this a little bit, but let's dive deeper down to this rabbit hole.
Well, he's the guy to answer the question, but let me just, because he'll just go on forever. I know this guy. So let me just frame it for you, Opa. Specifically, something that I think is really higher education sort of, I don't know, maybe missed the mark a little bit on this, my own personal critique, because we've gotten pretty far away from a lot of the sort of trade craft and practical skill building that I think was the original genesis of a lot of higher education. And I think community colleges have sort of reintroduced that. They never lost it, but people rediscover community colleges, especially with COVID-19. I wonder if you could speak to that aspect in particular, maybe using Salem as an example.
Well, and we kind of are a microcosm, because we're a very small community college. We have 1,000 students. We're in a very small county in what is a densely populated state, but we're very rural. Excuse me. But we have this program in scientific glass blowing, which is probably the best example of how industry uses the college uses industry. Back in the late 50s, DuPont, which was a major chemical provider that is just across the road from our campus, needed people to make their instrumentation for them to build whatever it was that they were doing. The chemical industry is reliant upon glass because glass is impervious to most chemical reactions and so forth. So they needed skill sets to do that, and they didn't feel that they could train at a viable number the people that they needed. So they came and they talked to the community college, which then was known as Salem Tech, and they said, can you open up a glass blowing business for us? We did. It has since evolved to the point where we have about 100 students in this 2-year program. They get an associate's degree and they can pretty much name their job. We have 3 that have gone on to Amsterdam most recently to work in a scientific lab there. I don't know that they're not making water pipes on the side, but the fact is that they went to a scientific test enterprise. We have people from all over the country that come in just for this one program. But in that,
all over the world.
Yeah, they are from all over the world, absolutely. But from that, we work with the glass blowing business, which is much larger than most people would ever realize, scientific glass blowing. We also have an artistic glass blowing, but the science pays the money, the art is just fun. But there are people that make a great living out of art. But in that context, I go into the fact that they are coming to us from universities. The gentleman that is in charge of the glass blowing for Princeton is our graduate, Duke, our graduate, Notre Dame, our graduate, and so forth. But that's an industry need, but it's not a big need. Community colleges can go and fill that niche, and we have that capacity. We've done it similarly with the field of nuclear engineering for not the nuclear engineer, but the operators, the people that are going to be wearing the suits, so to speak, and not the suit and tie suits, but they're going to be the ones that actually have to manage the reactor and such. So again, that nimbleness that goes with a community college and responsiveness to the locale, because we are serving, for the most part, people that are in our geography.
And those are all skilled professionals who are working in their trade too, right? So just like you, Professor Nick, I think you've got some, consulting business and marketing, background, and today you're probably delivering for your clients as well as being an educator. That means on a community college campus, as you're exploring, as you're trying to figure out sort of what you want to do, the people with whom you're coming into contact who are helping you to skill build, to put lines on a resume that are actionable, that for which employees could hire you or employers could hire you, are actually professionals in their own right. They have their own histories and their own backgrounds, and they have their own current opportunities and futures, their own networks, but they can help you understand what's a day in the life of a scientific glass blower. What are the kinds of job opportunities that exist? What do you mean Amsterdam? Coming to tiny Salem Community College and being hired in it? Like, how's that even happen? It's because of this network. It's because of this very practical, tactical experience that can be shared by the professionals who are on that campus. Nothing against the four-year institutions, but they are more removed from that day to day. So, oftentimes I speak to, an attorney who went to a state law school. Sometimes they'll say how much more capable they are practicing law the day they graduate relative to, the person who graduated from Yale, who's perfectly equipped to argue in front of the Supreme Court and will get an opportunity to do so in 45 years. So coming out of a community college, you've got not only the practical experience and the education, but also hopefully a network that you've taken the opportunity, to your question of what can young people do, you've taken the opportunity to ask the questions, to explore, to press your professors for what is it actually like? What is the day-to-day? How can I explore this further? Are there internship opportunities or connection opportunities, or can I go shadow some people? Can I shadow you to understand better what you do, to then take the next step in my potential career?
Part of my favorite part of this job is interacting with students that come visit me in office hours, whether they're virtual or, before COVID when they were actually in person, to ask about my career experiences, what opportunities are available for them out there, who can they talk to if they're interested in finance of the stock market, and so on and so on. So we are simultaneously competing with the 4-year schools for the first 2 years, right? But then kind of to your point with the skills-based training, we're also competing with trade schools and vocational schools to get people ready for jobs now, jobs that are in demand in local businesses that can go to community college and say, we need people that understand project management, how to work remotely, manufacturing, child development, medical assisting, et cetera, and we can get you a certificate in a year or less and put you into a company with a good paying job that has benefits that you can provide for your family. And I feel like that is just as powerful, if not more powerful than, delivering, history, English, math degrees at the 4-year level. So
one of the issues that is very prolific toward your point is that, I apologize if my 6 o'clock alarm goes, it's Uncle John's Band by the Grateful Dead every night at 6 o'clock. But we have a nursing program, and we're much like everyone else, but we have 2 levels of nursing. One is the practical nurse, the other is the registered nurse. But we've made them into 1-year programs. And that's because the demand for those skills and those professionals is very pronounced. And by going to the community college, and others do a similar model, not a 4-year institution, but the 2-year institution does a similar model that can get you into that career position 3 years faster than if you go to the traditional 4-year school. And in your family environment, that may be critically important, or that may be the only way you can make it happen. Yeah. So again, that flexibility and niche is really critical.
And I think more so now than ever in the middle of this pandemic, when millions of Americans have lost their jobs, small businesses are going out of, they're shuttering their doors forever. These folks need jobs, not 3 years from now. They need jobs 6 months from now, 1 year from now. Where can they get skills to give them a good paying job right away, not, some distant day into the future, years ahead when you're deliberating in front of the Supreme Court with your Yale law degree. The reality is people need to pay bills and find a way to pay for food now. So.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you see this with your students, oftentimes putting into practice what you discussed with them one evening, the very next morning at work, right? Literally bringing to you practical challenges and opportunities that they faced earlier in the day. I love that. I love that it gets so real and so tangible in those discussions. And it's not even a matter of after they graduate or after they finish their associate's degree. It's a matter of later today or on their way home. They're starting to say, I just came out of class and actually I'm thinking more about what we were just talking about. Let's do this tomorrow. Let's try this tomorrow. Let's try and move this forward.
Yeah. It's true. I got brought on at Ventura College to teach the Introduction to Social Media Marketing class because that's my background. So I teach that class by giving context because you have to and understanding the environment you're in. But each week I give the students a new tangible skill that they can walk away from that day and use. And I get a lot of feedback from students saying, hey, I didn't realize how easy it is to record a podcast. Thank you for doing a demo and walking me through how to share a link onto my website or onto a LinkedIn page. By the way, I now have guests lined up and I've got a recurring podcast awesome. And I had no idea it was that easy. So those types of practical things are very important. And I like to bring that into the classroom. So yeah, fabulous. Thank you for bringing that up though. Tangible skills for sure. All right. We're going to try and wrap this up. We'll see how that goes. I've got another question for you. And I like to end these types of interviews and talks with asking you all, the experts in your industry, for advice. So each of you, one at a time, what advice can you give students interested in a career in real estate, right? For you, Ryan, or for you, Dr. Gorman, a career in some other technical field that a community college might have. What advice are you giving to students right now?
Yeah, I'll start on the real estate side. So one thing to note about real estate, at least residential real estate in the United States. So we'll just focus, here for a moment. It is the most entrepreneurial field in the entire country. And it might sound like I'm biased because I work in this field. I've worked in lots of other fields. It truly is. So every real estate agent like Ariel is a business owner, is an independent contractor business owner, whether they're a sole practitioner or they're a member of a team or leading a team. They are they are independent in every sense of the word, in applying their trade, growing their business. They're working oftentimes with commission-based loan officers, small business owners who are in the inspection field, the contracting field. The individual who comes out to repair something that was found on an inspection is an entrepreneur. The person who built the house most likely is a small business owner. Relatively few of the sort of homes that we all live in are tract built. Most were built or remodeled by general contractors that are small family businesses or individual businesses. Real estate is incredibly entrepreneurial. That means a few different things. One, it is absolutely limitless. And I absolutely mean that. It is completely limitless. You may think living in a small town in America that, there's a certain cap to what you could earn. I can tell you examples and stories of people who have managed to grow their business well beyond their wildest dreams to 6, 7, even 8 figures as having the exact same license that someone could get through completing a Salem Community College sponsored licensure course tomorrow. And they've been able to do that because no one ever told them they couldn't, right? That's truly the field of real estate. It's absolutely limitless. However, the flip side of that is you need self-motivation. You need to self-procure your support system. You need to partner with other individuals in the financial realm, the legal realm, et cetera, to surround your business with the right information and protection. You need to partner maybe with the right brand to be able to ensure that you have the tools to be able to succeed, the education you have to be able to succeed. You're surrounded by the professionals who can help ensure that you're going to reach your highest potential. So I think real estate is truly a limitless field. And for someone exploring that and thinking about it, step one, find someone like Ariel. Talk to them. They're not hard to find. Real estate agents tend to be pretty much extroverted. So reach out and find one in your community or call me and I'll introduce you to one. And truly, I'm on every platform known to man. You can reach out to me and I'll make an introduction. Shadow them, have a little conversation with them about what makes up their day, how they invest their time. Ensure that you're comfortable and excited by what they share back with you. And if that's the case, then you can dive right in. There are innumerable resources from whether it's from Coldwell Banker, from others in the field, or from community colleges to step in, to get licensed, to partner with maybe other professionals early on in your career. No one will keep you out. There are no barriers and there is no ceiling. But you need to be motivated intrinsically. You need to be excited about what the potential is. So the best advice I can give is to connect with folks in the field, discover whether it truly floats your boat, whether that gets you pretty excited. Thinking of their day every day brings a smile to your face. And if it does, then let us know and we will get you going.
Awesome.
Kind of go along the same pathway there. And while it might not always appear it, life is truly a meritocracy. That those who are achieving, those who are doing, those who demonstrate the best skill set are going to advance. And oftentimes that will translate into financial gain, but more often than not, it's an intrinsic value that you are nurturing. And honestly, if you follow the intrinsics, the money will follow as well. But I look at the opportunities you get in the community college world, kind of going back to what Ryan just said. That time of discovery, it's the time where you can take a course that you maybe never thought you wanted to pursue, and all of a sudden it piqued your interest in something else, or it set up a skill set in something else, or it made you simply think differently. That's one of the advantages. And the community college is a great place to go to, and we're always open for business for everybody anywhere. But the fact is, I encourage people to look at it on the local level. But the idea, there are certificates to be obtained in a community college. And sometimes that's all you need to have the edge over the other person applying for that job. You can go ahead and pursue the associate's degree. And that, again, gives you another edge over people. And then finally, you can go on for your bachelor's and maybe even advanced degrees. I'm Exhibit A. But on my resume, on every place that I have ever applied for a job, and I've been a school superintendent, a principal, and so forth, I have always listed Burlington County College for my associate's degree because there's a sense of pride of achievement that went with that. And I want people to know I've gone through those steps.
I love that. And I'll just add, in the real estate space, one wonderful thing about it is it's not exclusionary in that aspect at all. So there are fields you can go into. If you're trying to practice medicine, practice law, you'll oftentimes get the question of where you went to college, where you went to, to get your advanced degree. In real estate, you're trying to prove that you care deeply and intensely for your clients, that you are a subject matter expert and a trusted advisor in the field, the trade craft of real estate transactions, that you understand the properties and the people, and you understand how to put them together to ensure that the financing is right and the person moves into the right home or moves along at the right time. If you position yourself as that trusted advisor through authentic delivery of service, no one will ever ask you where you went to college. If you watch a lot of these real estate, reality television shows, when's the last time they walked through the resume of that real estate provider and pointed out where they went to college, where they went to graduate school, what their family was like when they were growing up? No, they're pointing out what their experience is, how they've served their clients, how their clients are thrilled with their service, like you are, Professor Nick, with Ariel, and how the next client is also going to be thrilled. That's a true meritocracy, and it's one of the things I genuinely and deeply love about our field.
This is just so fantastic. I mean, the core values that came out of what you two just organically talked about: pride, hard work, selflessness, caring about your customer and your community and people beyond yourself. I mean, these are the types of lessons that I think people need to see and hear in the year 2020, that there are good people out there trying to do good by others. And so, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for your time. I sure hope that we can continue this. I don't know how
Absolutely.
or why
Absolutely.
or where, but I would sure like to try.
And if you stumble upon anybody interested in scientific or artistic glass blowing, send them our way. We are the MIT of that world.
It's absolutely true. Check it out. If you don't believe them, look online. It is really exceptional work they do out of Salem County Community College.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We will check it out. On behalf of Dr. Gorman, and Ryan, I'm Professor Nick. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will see you next week for another episode of the Professor Nick Show.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank
Take
you.
care, folks.